There we go. Was that me or did you guys do it? Okay. Please help me welcome to the stage Ashish Baghel, CEO and founder of NucleusTeq. Come on up.
I think we had the clicker switched there. So, how's everybody doing? Good, good. Very good afternoon. I hope I'll be able to do justice with your and compete with your lunch that you're having. So, in terms of attention, we are here to talk about the data universe that you're all dealing with, and not talk about Gen AI. I'm just kidding. We'll still talk about it, but the point here is, how do we get to that maturity cycle where you're able to create a Gen AI ready platform? And with that, I think we'll have to switch to. So a little bit about me. We just talked about. I've been in the industry for the last 25 years, focusing on many Fortune 100 customers, taking care of their data and digital and cloud transformation journey. Not to bore you with my background, but just one last 10 seconds of this. I'm founder CEO of these three companies, NucleusTeq, NuoData, and Finder. NucleusTeq is the primary digital and data transformation company that is serving 15 of the Fortune 100 customers today and counting. NuoData is a platform that supports all data modernization and management capabilities, as of now known in terms of what you would need to run and manage and build your data platform. So that said, we are here to talk about how do you build your data universe leading up to an AI-ready platform. And if I were to just talk about what you're dealing with today, the Gen AI and the AI capabilities have come a long, long way. I'm very sure you're all following up on the llamas and the GPT-4 and on all of these components here, right? They are trained on 70, 80 billion parameters, 15 trillion tokens. Can't imagine, hundreds of billions of dollars that have been spent on these to train and build these models today. AI will consume 40% of the entire energy that is being generated today in a decade from now, if the speed of adoption goes through the way it is growing, right? Not so good part about it is probably based on the economic survey of our US. This is US data alone, rather US research alone. It's 85 million people will be losing or recalibrating their jobs. Having said that, we'll be creating 97 million new, exciting jobs, right? So that there's a big transformation and calibration that has to happen from now to next several years. Having said that, AI is everywhere. You may or may not have noticed, but it's creeping in with every aspect of our lives, including the whole transformation around arts and innovation, and all of that is happening. You must have heard about the famous strike and everything that was going on with the Hollywood and all of that, right? Having said that, there are at the same time several notable incidents and lawsuits against the misrepresentation and bias and whatever else that AI has produced so far, right? Autonomous cars have come a long, long way. You have got the FSD and this and that. Nobody tells you, but there are 416 incidents and crashes that they were reported by the NHTSA, right? So where do we stand? Where do we stand in this whole journey? If you really see, in terms of positive and negatives, right? And I believe yesterday the theme was absolutely around the same thing, which is trust, right? So if you have built something that you have trusted so far, and I'm going to talk about that implication as well, where you're dealing with so many lawsuits and everything else based on the structure and data that you're supposed to know the policy, you're supposed to know the compliance, you're supposed to know your data and everything. we are paying so many fines and dues and lawsuits and everything else. How do you manage an outcome of something which you have never created before? That's Gen AI. How do you control the outcome and the advancements of that model or whatever business outcome that you are trying to achieve, right? So this is a very, very important question that we are going to answer today. And this is, again, just the key risks and challenges I talked about a little bit. $243 billion were paid in fines and dues in 2022-23 alone because of the data and compliance related challenges, leave alone the reputational massive challenge that people see. In fact, you must have heard about the Gemini, and there's so many that you can point out that has led their business valuation by several $100 billion, not several billion, right? At the same time, I talked about the issue that probably at this point we are not looking at it, which is it is expensive, right? So how do we really get to what we really need? How do you optimize your data? And the success lies in building your data and analytics platform. And I'm emphasizing on data and analytics platform because that is the core from a foundational perspective before you get to your AI readiness and everything else. So how do you build a platform, data analytics platform that is AI ready and compliant? I think that's the focus of our discussion today. And what's the approach to it? There is an 8-pointer approach that I have laid out here as part of your data universe that you need to form. The challenge most of these companies are dealing with is you have discrete systems. You have a mainframe, you have an Oracle, you have a Sybase, you have a SAP, you have yet another lakehouse, and you have yet another data warehouse, and whatever else, right? How do you get a common understanding of what you have? So you need to find a way to unify and bring all of that data to the same plane. That's the unification part. The second part is discover. Make sure your enterprise has a common understanding of what that data is. So that's where you bring in the whole metadata management, the whole understanding of discovery and understanding your metadata is actionable, right? So you need to activate that data, that metadata that you have brought in. So bring the whole enterprise to the common understanding, bring the whole system together, and then make sure that metadata that you're bringing in is activated in terms of insights, in terms of whatever you want to generate. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. The second biggest challenge that you will see is how do you normalize your data? How do you really make sure all your systems that you're bringing in has a common pattern, common way of formatting, normalization, or standardization, which your enterprise understand? Or I'll give you an example. For a credit card company, somewhere they store 13-digit card, somewhere they store 15-digit card and whatnot, right? Somewhere the addresses are kept in a different format, the dates are kept in different format and whatever else, right? So this is just the standardization of the data. And then when you are putting all of these subject to your model learning and all of that, then you also have to figure out the null value finders, the extreme, the outliers, and things like that. So you should have the ability to, first of all, standardize and blend the data that your enterprise understands, right? Going into the third one, where you're able to store and retrieve the data at a lightning speed, right? And at a cost that is not breaking your bank. Right? So there are many solutions available out there, but you have to be extremely cautious of where do you want to store that data? Where do you want to bring in the data? Bring your lakehouse in a more object storage kind of format. Don't go for an appliance outright. So make sure you're able to bring in the data in, doesn't matter which cloud platform, whatever object storage you're using, whether you're using Watson X or whether you're using S3 or Google storage, make sure you're able to store all of that data, bring it into a format like a delta or an iceberg that creates and transforms all of that discrete data into an ACID or a CRUD enabled platform. So I'm very sure you understand, when you bring it into a lakehouse format, it creates the ability of, your lakehouse becomes a transactional quality, transactional grade platform where you're able to add, update, insert, do all of those operations. So make sure you're able to create that basic strategy where you're able to bring all of this data together. You're able to operate on that data in a very seamless format, right? Going into the next one, govern and secure. Everybody has talked about it. What does it mean? You should have an ability in your platform to create policy enforcements, to create access control. Now, this can be RBAC or ABAC, whatever policy that your enterprise is enabling. But make sure you're able to create a strategy which then says, okay, based on my organization, I have these many personas or these many roles, these many teams, these many business units, and thereby they should have access to this entity from a catalog perspective or this entity from a physical access perspective, right? This is the most important aspect for you to avoid the other pitfalls that I just talked about in terms of penalties and compliance. We didn't know what the data was and things like that, right? Right here, you also have to tag your data, what is PII, what is sensitive, what is classified, what is private, protected, and all of that, right? You should absolutely put a lot of effort in ensuring that your data is absolutely governed, right? So if you see, I'm just building. You have standardized the data. Now you are controlling the data in a way that your enterprise should, or doesn't matter which role, right? You have enabled them for those respective operations. They should have access and ability to operate only on those entitlements that they have been provided, right? With that, prepare and transform. This is again, so when you are able to bring in the data at one place, it is extremely important for you to then make the data consumption ready, right? So you brought in, you copied and replicated all the raw sources and whatnot. And now it's lying on your, let's say, S3, iceberg on S3, or any other object storage. Then at that point, you are making this ready and available for your respective usage. Now, the marketing will need a certain data. Your risk might need a certain data. So you make that data available from these sources and make it available to the target, wherever the target is, right? You might be using Snowflake, or it doesn't matter what you're going to use. So make sure your consumption strategy is separated from your lakehouse strategy. Don't get hostage to the fact that you have put in the entire data there and you don't know what to do. We are premium partners with all of them. It's not about saying, hey, this is good, this is bad. This is all about saying what is right for your business strategy, right? So make the data consumption ready and put only what you're going to consume at a layer which you're going to consume from, right? So it's extremely important. Apart from that, now, if you are doing the machine learning and modeling, you will also be requiring to do a whole bunch of those dimensionality reductions and the whole normalization at that level. So this capability is reusable, whatever you have built so far, you're able to now make the data also your machine learning ready, right, or AI ready. Your platform should be able to prescribe. So depending on your use case, depending on what you're trying to do, it should be able to prescribe what machine learning models are relevant to your use case or what you're trying to achieve. Whether it is some descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive, depending on what you are trying to look for, this platform should have the ability to support those features, right? And we'll talk a whole lot in detail when we do the Q&A, but this platform, whatever platform you're building, should have that ability. And then the other one is you should have all the so all the major AI and ML. We have not even gone to Gen AI yet, right? there is a 98% value that you can reap right away without getting into Gen AI. Frankly, Gen AI at this point is a very big unknown. Only 1% people in the world are using Gen AI, independent of what people tell you. And out of 1%, 90% of them are using it for chat purposes because you cannot trust the data, right? So before you get to Gen AI, let's reap the 98% value that you already have in your data today. And for that, you should have this platform that should support classification, regression, clustering, the NLPs, the computer vision, all of these core capabilities where you know a little bit of unstructured input to structured output, or at least you can measure the output, let me put it that way, right? So it's extremely important that this platform supports that capability. Then the last one, which, it should have the ability to experiment. When you are picking up two models and you say, I want to do random forest, I want to do regression or whatever else, it selects those 3-4 models and it runs that experiment for you. It scores, and you can allocate that, test versus model run and whatever allocation that you have. And it should be able to give you the end result of what that data and output looks like. So this platform should support seamlessly, right? Now, if you are building it custom, that's fine. If you're using a platform, please use these as a measures for your qualification that, yes, it should at least have these 5, 6, 8 capabilities that we're looking at, right? Having said that, some watch items, right? It is very, very expensive. You haven't got to it yet, so we are all touching and feeling and experimenting, but it is super expensive. Right? Training is expensive. If you're getting into Gen AI, you will have to have a separate infrastructure, get another vector DB, the whole modernization, governance, vectorization, and all that process, and how do you add new tokens to your vector DB? How are you making it learn on its own? There is so much. We talked about RAG and all of those capabilities, right? They are not simple for you to use. So they are expensive. I'm not saying you should not, but it is very expensive and you should be aware of the cost implication. I was at one of the conferences and then I said, okay, I have 100 terabyte of data. I want to vectorize it. What's the new size? Nobody could tell me. Even now, nobody can tell me what the new size of vector database will be. So there are many unknowns. Watch for it. Build a migration-proof strategy. Separate your data management assets from compute and storage as much as possible, right? It is extremely important for you to not lock down on one capability. You have too many point solutions today. Either they are good at this or they're good at that. Some claim that they're very good at everything. That's fine, but you have to be very careful while assessing and making sure you're not getting logged in as a customer, right? It's important. Now, whichever platform you pick, we are all there to support. We are a services company as well, but you should absolutely watch for what is that dependence, what you're creating for the next generation of people and companies that you're going to build, right? With that, there are too many point solutions. Somebody is good at this, somebody is good at that. Somebody does governance, somebody does catalog, somebody does ML, somebody does observability. You have to be very, very careful when you pick up a solution while not locking your overall cost and long-term strategy to what you're building, right? With that, how is NuoData simplifying the challenge? I have a small video. I'll just quickly talk about it. Please enjoy the video. Can we have the audio, please?
And managing data to ensure a single version of truth for analytics and consumption is not easy. Data modernization is especially challenging. It's time-consuming, labor-intensive, complex, high-risk, and costly. Data management at petabyte scale is equally challenging, where the enterprises are required to figure out governance, catalog, lineage, ingestion, transformation, quality, and operations. But there's a solution. Meet NuoData, the world's leading data modernization and management platform, and your key to revolutionizing the enterprise's end-to-end data journey. Modernizing legacy data assets to next-gen platforms demands domain knowledge, a deep understanding of cloud-native services, security, and data engineering skills at scale. NuoData accomplishes in minutes what would take highly trained teams several months. It's not just easier, it's future-proof. With a proven 7-step approach, NuoData is the only platform to migrate and modernize enterprise data from any source to any cloud platform. It brings intelligence and automation to the modernization process, moving from legacy data sources to a flexible, scalable, and modern data platform of your choice. Experience 10 times performance boost, 8 times faster migration, 50% plus cost savings, 90% energy savings, 0 business interruption. NuoData's data management platform offers comprehensive capabilities like governance, lineage, catalog, MDM, ingestion, orchestration, observability, AI or ML, modeling, business intelligence, and more. Out-of-the-box features for catalog, lineage, and governance for federation and compliance needs. Build your data pipelines, ML and AI models in minutes. Run them in your choice of engines like Spark and Presto. Schedule and run your jobs with advanced AI monitoring and alerting. Build your lakehouse today on any cloud, on any runtime suited for your workloads, and using any engine like Spark or Presto. That's freedom. It's where data innovation meets digital transformation. Future-proof your enterprise business with NuoData today.
So that's in a nutshell what data universe looks like, right? This is just a conceptual architecture of what NuoData does today. Now on the left-hand side that you see, it supports any-to-any data migration and modernization. So it doesn't have to be left to right. It can be from any cloud to any other cloud that you're trying to migrate and modernize, right? The data management capabilities, we already talked about it in detail. The approach NuoData has today, it sits on top of any one or multiple clouds. So the challenge with today's world is if you go into, let's say, one solution, they'll give you their data catalog or they'll give you their whatever solution they have, but it only operates within that boundary. What this platform does is it sits on top of it. It's your capability. It's your data management. So everything that you build is your asset. It sits on top of compute and storage. So this leverages compute and storage from any cloud platform or any other platform that you have. But the whole management layer sits at your level. So you are literally building a migration-proof strategy. If tomorrow something goes wrong, if you want to move from one cloud to another or one platform to another, you simply move the data, that's it. The whole compute, storage, logic, pipelines, catalog, everything is right there at your disposal, right? So that's a huge, huge enabler in today's world when you're going to operate on an AWS or a GCP or a Snowflake or a Databricks and all of these at once, right? Nobody else provides you that interoperability and ease of management at a user-friendly level that we have today, right? We already talked about it. This is essentially the way we modernize is we convert everything into open source. So you're not putting yourself hostage to anything. We take any of these, convert it into open source. So in terms of storage, that's simple. Whatever schema and storage you have here to whatever you're going to have in your future platform, that's fine. Then you have the whole workload and query conversion that we convert into Spark or Presto. Those are the two most famous ones here, right, or most used ones. We're also working on the Scala engine very soon. And then the third thing, the data orchestration and scheduling, we convert everything into Apache Airflow. So this platform has all those capabilities built behind the scene, and it simply integrates for all of your modernization, as well as the management that we just talked about, which is very simple to use. You have everything is open source, everything is API driven. So if you have an existing platform or system that you want to use, you are most welcome to use. This is not use it all or not. It's not that platform, right? With that, we already talked about some of the advantages. The biggest advantage I was telling you again is it sits on top of these platforms. So it is multiple runtime, multiple engine support, where you're able to build those pipelines or create those ML models. It supports Jupyter Notebook, which has 25 language support. So it supports the most untechnical users, as in where they just want to care about the business outcomes and what data is coming in and what's going out. We give you a snapshot at each level, or it supports the most technical of your engineers who want to run and build everything on their choice of language. And this, again, I'm just repeating, this sits at your level. This entire infrastructure of data management sits at your level. When I say your level, you have the entire control. It doesn't sit anywhere else, right? So with that, I think I'll just give you a very, very small case study of a modernization where we just did a Hadoop modernization on Watson X. Again, this is not Watson X solution. This supports any and all cloud platforms, but this happened to be a Watson X solution, and IBM is one of our premium partners. We are the chosen platform for all data movement across Watson X, by the way. So with that, the customer had 2 petabytes of data, which they had 373 servers, 9 environments, and multiple replication. I know you probably aware, Hadoop by default replicates into 3. So if you have 3 petabytes of data, it's actually 1 petabyte of data, right? But you have to store in 3 petabytes, right? And the biggest challenge with Hadoop now is it used to be a file system. It's not good enough for your AI and ML planning, right, anymore, because you have to bring it to a lakehouse type of an architecture where you're able to do some CRUD operations or ACID transactions, right? With that, we were able to save 50% of that out of the $6.8 million. We were able to, this is just first year because it includes almost the entire migration effort and everything else. In spite of that, the customers were able to save close to 2.2 million in the first year, but then the second year saving is 3.5 and 3.8 million plus year on year. So that's massive saving. You are able to, and the other thing which you should also account for is, Hadoop compute is not fast anymore, right? You have got Spark in memory, you have got Presto in memory, which is, let's say Spark is 7, 8, 10 times faster than Hadoop or Hive, and then your Presto is faster, 7, 8 times faster than Spark. So you're looking at 15-20% of 15-20 times performance gain just by doing this. So why not save money, get better performance, have lesser infrastructure? If you really see 373 to 26 servers, it's like massive reduction, 15 times reduction, right? And how NoData is able to help is, again, we will be able to bring in the data from your sources to your lake, or the whole conversion of the logic that you have in Hive or anything else today to your choice of your language. With that, I think that concludes my presentation, and then we very strongly believe that strong businesses are built on strong relationships. So we are all about that. Anything that you have in terms of just servicing needs or any platform support that you need, me and my team will be very happy to come and assist with that. With that, I'm open for any questions if you have.
I've got one for you. If
Yes.
you had to leave us with 2 to 3 top considerations in building an AI-ready platform, what would you say?
Yeah, I definitely feel you have to absolutely bring the whole data together. That's the catalog. You need to activate your metadata, make sure everybody has the same understanding. In fact, I was telling one of a gentleman today during our conversation, we also have the ability to bring your mainframe data, metadata to this platform, right? So understanding of what you have is extremely important, and that goes back to the trustedness and everything else that we talked about AI so far, right? So that's very important. The other thing is ability to compute at a cost that is not breaking you, right? Cost is extremely important. I know it's a big thing, it's an in thing, everybody's talking about it, and I'm not talking against it, but I'm just asking us to be watchful of what it may bring in terms of value versus cost. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Ashish.
Yeah.
Find him, ask your questions. It is time now to go to our next session. We'll go beyond the challenge. Thank you so much.